Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 597. Recording today, Wednesday, what is it? It's the 13th of November. Ooh, that's. I'm not superstitious, so it's not going to affect me. At least not a Friday, eh? Well, this is the Sonic Talk podcast. It's to do with all things to do with music technology, software, live production, studio production, synthesizers, electronic music, kind of the whole range of things. Music, anything to do with the technology of making music. So we like to say thank you very much for be able to hold on, I've just had a message. I'm just going to have to mute that particular page because I'm just happy to have you all here. We want to say thank you very much to our sponsors. We've got iZotope will be telling you a little bit of how you can win a copy of Ozone 9, their mastering suite. That's advanced. And, of course, Softube about their new synthesizer Monument bass. Right, let's get on to some guests. We'll start over... who we? Well, let's start with Mr. Yoad Nevo. We haven't seen him for a while. Well, you may have seen him actually very recently because we finally published our studio tour yesterday, which you may recognise behind Yoad Nevo there at Nevo Sound, where he mixes for the stars, producing all kinds of stuff, and also songwriting, and is a developer for Waves as well. How are you, Yoad? You've got a new camera, have you?
I have.
Looking fancy.
It looks better, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. So you're sat at your desk. I thoroughly recommend you check out that. It's half an hour. We've got another part of that coming where you go into your default setup and all the MIDI control as well. So you've been busy then, I take it?
Yeah, quite busy. Doing a lot of mixing, working on a very exciting product for Waves, which we're about to release. So it's kind of crunch time and it's all getting very intense.
That last 10%.
Yeah, exactly. But it's going to be a good one. And yeah, had some really interesting writing sessions lately and some surround work, a lot of stuff. And I enjoyed watching the video yesterday that you published. It was fun to remember our first meeting.
First and only physical meeting, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, a great. It was good fun to do, and lovely to see all your stuff, and like I say, hear your room and all the things you're up to. But thank you for joining us. And we also have. Let me see. Let's play. Let's go to Matt. Mr. Matt Hodson, Maths. There, it looks like your studio setup is coming along a bit. Last time we saw you were in more of an empty space, and now you're in a kind of little studio nook. Is that right?
Working on my new EP, so I just had to get something set up. So yeah, I'm working in this little nook while I'm figuring things out in here. So I had to get the modular set up and just very basic recording, just to get on with some writing, basically. Before I moved out of my old studio, though, I ended up selling my sound cards and my mixing desk because I thought I'll make a fresh start and I'll maybe get a new interface or a new mixing desk or something like that when I move. So I'm kind of looking on the market now to see what I'm going to use as my front end, and I'm quite interested on this Behringer wing that I don't know if you've seen this, guys, that they've been previewing.
I've seen the preview,
showing.
yeah, of the preview. Yeah. It seems like an updated, from what I can see of the preview anyway, it looks like a kind of up the scale a bit of the X32, which I think is a great desk. I don't know anything more yet. I don't.
I mean, I was looking at the X32. Just for me, something like that as a front end. And some people may disagree about the sound of Behringer and whatever, but I think the X32 is really great in terms of flexibility and the fact that it works as a sound card. And someone like me who I've kind of stopped working with other clients for the meantime while I'm just tracking and writing. I see it, even though it's kind of designed as a live mixer, I'm kind of seeing it as quite a good studio front end, actually. So I'm going to see what this wing's about. I'd be interested to know a little bit more.
Yeah, I recommend it. I mean, or there's the X-Air, which is another good one. I mean, so the Studio Master stuff's good as well. There's quite a lot of possibilities out there at the moment at the kind of affordable digital desk. But yeah, a good problem to have. I hope we can help you somehow. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
If anyone's got any ideas, it's got to have post-fader recording. That's important because basically, as I'm tracking, I'm writing live. So anything that I do on faders, aux sends, I've got to be able to record that. So it's got to have something like that. So any recommendations, stick it in the comments.
Okay, good shout. Okay, and of course we also have Mr. Rich Hilton, who's there in Connecticut, where he's having a brief respite from being on the road with Chic, as well as all of his other studio commitments. How are you, Rich? Are you well?
I am, thank you, very well.
Good. Glad to hear it. Well, we've had the pleasure of your company for almost 3 times in 3 weeks, which is a very unusual scenario for us. So we're happy to have you.
3 and 4 weeks.
3 and 4
weeks. I
weeks.
don't think I was on last week. Yeah, I wasn't on last week.
Oh, okay. It all blurs into one. It all feels like one long Sonic talk to me.
It's always a pleasure. Always.
Well, lovely to have
here.
you. Well, we have actually topics. You know, there's after the bereft summer, we have. I guess we got to do this. I mean, this has been all over the world. So let's have a look.
Let's check out some sounds.
Of course, this is the Behringer TD3, which is, as you may see, and although this one is red, is pretty much a 303. That's kind of the concept. They've gone for it. They've gone for $149. I think they do a red one, a blue one, and a silver one. And I mean, I'm not a 303 aficionado, but by all accounts, it's pretty damn close, including the infuriating programming interface of the original, which I have no idea why you'd want that. I mean, that just seems like a kind of, a weird thing to want to do. But yeah, I mean, I've added distortion and obviously MIDI I/O and a little bit of extra CV as well. But the big news is $149. I mean, hard to argue with when the original, I mean, I'm guessing also build quality is probably okay. I mean, the original wasn't exactly built, so it can't be any worse, that's for sure. And to be fair, you know, most of the Behringer stuff has been kind of reasonable quality, but it's a fairly kind of like audacious move, shall we say. It's not exactly the same as the 303. Maybe let's rewind a little bit and think, you know, what is it about the 303 that makes us all or makes a lot of people just hanker after it? I'm going to come to you first, Matt, because you've got synthesizers behind you, and I have a feeling that you may have done some techno in the past, even some acid house beats.
Yeah, maybe. Although I haven't really done any acid, but I like the 303 because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Every time I played on one, it's just like, yeah, this is great fun. And I can see how those people accidentally took it from what it was designed for originally, is like a bass synth, into like acid house, because it's just so you can get carried away with it so easily. Yeah, I haven't used them too much. I certainly haven't really programmed them too much either. And I haven't owned one because they go for so much money. Yeah. I did used to own an 808 and a 909 originally, but no, I mean, the prices of original ones have been what, $1.5 or something, and now I'm seeing quite a lot of them cropping up on eBay, on Facebook, and you know, everyone's leaving comments like, "Oh, I suppose someone's just heard about the new Behringer drop," and people trying to sell off there. I mean, I sold my SH101 actually to get the Behringer SH101 in the end.
That's interesting. Well, I wonder, because that's been leveled at all of these kind of remakes with the MS, even Korg's MS-20s, and it didn't affect those. I mean, something like this, which is so affordable, but the original is like a little plasticky thing. Maybe that's why that's happening, you know. And it's so, because we all really know that you can't justify that outrageous second-hand price for a plastic synthesizer. Maybe there's something in that. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, sound-wise, I don't know if you've seen. There's a video on YouTube where the guy compares the Behringer,
the loop pot
XOX,
one,
yeah, that's it, the XOX, and an original one, and yeah, it doesn't sound exactly the same as an original. You can hear it obviously in the video, but it sounds close enough for me. And if I wanted to go out now and do a fun live set, I could take one of these out, their SH101, the 808 or a 909, and I could go out and I could do a full-on techno acid house set really, really cheaply, and it'll sound great. So what I really like about this though is the distortion. Added distortion on it, and you can also, I think you can run audio into this one and apply the distortion to it as well. So I think that's a really cool move. I like the sound of that.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, I think the one thing I will say about the distortion, if it's the same as is on the Neutron, which has got a tone control, which is really nice, if you can actually not drive it at all but use the tone control, it's like an extra filter. It's like a tilt filter, which adds quite a lot of character to it. I know, Rich, was the 303s... I don't know. I think it came a bit later to the American market in terms of what the kind of the not intended use of it, as it were. So that, you know, the sort of for techno, I suppose. I think that came a little bit later in the decade. But is a 303? Do you think? I mean, this is going to be in a lot of people's Christmas lists. I mean, it's like, well, I've always wanted one. I mean, for that price, I can have one now, more or less, right?
I think so. And I don't see why not. I mean, your point about the maddening interface notwithstanding, I actually did have a weekend or two with this particular machine and quite enjoyed it and had a lot of fun and enjoyed the results and thought it sounded very good for what it was. And at the time, it was a budget product in a line full of not necessarily budget products in a history of, it was kind of a first of its kind of machine, as well as the drum equivalent. There was some drum equivalent. Anyway, if this thing is fun to use and sounds
yeah.
If this thing is fun to use and sounds good, why not? I mean, they've done everything else, and isn't it, Roland? Don't we have a topic about chasing ghosts or something?
Yeah, well, it's quite an interesting contrast. Well, I think you've just coined the title there. I think it's going to be called 303 Weekender, this show, because that sounds like that weekend was a lot of fun.
It was a fling. I had a fling.
A 303 fling.
With a TB303.
Yeah, exactly. And why not? I don't know what to think, I mean, I can't remember whether you have a 303 in your studio. Have you got one?
Yeah, I actually do, and it has MIDI even.
So you've got a MIDI one.
That's very handy. I like the sound. I actually have two other kind of, fake ones. I have the Freebase and the Deep something 9.
Deep 9, right.
Which don't sound anything like the 303. I don't know why. It's just the kind of parameters which are similar, but they don't sound anything like it. But they're just kind of okay synths. But this Behringer seems like a really good thing. I think I've noticed a bit of a price drop on the originals. They used to go for like $2,500, and now they're like 1,500 or $2,000 or something. So I think the kind of, the market kind of reacts to that release. What I can't understand is why they would copy this awful sequencer. Why? I mean, I'm sure that they went into they put a lot of effort in mimicking this miserable sequencer, while they can actually do something so much better with arpeggiators and things and chords, and not chords because it's a monophonic synth, but you know what I mean. It could be like they could have taken a modern approach to it, and so this is probably to retain the authenticity and things like that. But I think that what people are after is the sound, and the sound alone. No one will tell you, "Oh, I love the 303 because of the sequencer."
Some people do. Some people like to go for the random nature of it. I mean, there is an arpeggiator on board as well on this, so they have expanded on it. But it'd be really funny, wouldn't it, if or ironic perhaps, if, say, for instance, Roland were gearing up to kind of go, actually, that's going a bit too far. We're going to come after you, and the reason we're coming after you because you copied our sequencer. That would be the kind of the irony. Yeah.
No, but if you remember, like the triplets and this and all those funny kind of note signs and all that, it's just a nightmare. And if people like it, I mean, you can have an app of on your phone, even on your, I don't know, Nokia from 20 years ago, that can do something like that. So you know what I mean. So
yeah.
I can't get that. I haven't seen that video where they compare the two, but it seems. It seems like it's sounding quite kind of decent, and if you think about it, it's a unit from like 40.
Yeah, they're all going to sound different anyway.
Exactly, each unit is going to sound different to the other. So the one that they've modeled may well sound like the product that they released. You know what I mean? And and another one will sound, a different one will sound a bit different. But I think it's minor. I really like it because I like the bass sound. I'm for all these squeaky, squelchy TB303 distorted with high resonant noises for techno. I actually prefer the Korg Prophecy. It has a really, really nice. It doesn't sound anything like a 303, but it does kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And also there used to be the Scope, the Pulsar
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it
DSP
had
player.
one which was like in flames or something. It was orange and it was in flames, and it I think it was Cold Flame actually, and that sounded really, really good. So, but what I do like about the TB is just to have a bass sound with no resonance,
The
just
mellow
kind
sort of
of
sound, yeah.
Yeah,
That's the
Great.
what's it called? What was that band called? They did Tinseltown and I can't remember what they were called. Burn Down
Yeah, I think I
Tinseltown.
know
I
what you
forget
mean.
what the name of them. They had a very mellow.
Yeah,
but it's that very sort of. It's almost the SH sound, isn't it? But it's a very and I think.
but it's softer in a way. Yeah,
Yeah, it's softer. But
Yeah.
I guess everybody will probably get hold of one, and that'll be it. In fact, they did offer to send one here, and I just thought I actually don't like 303s. I don't like the sequencer, and I've sort of felt I've never really used it, so I wouldn't be the right guy to perhaps to review that, because it would just be, well, I don't know. It probably sounds like a 303, and it does that 303 thing. But yeah, there it is, and that's that. So I think they're going to sell tons of them just because.
Totally.
At that price, why wouldn't?
Yeah,
why
I think
wouldn't
so. I think all these new ones that they're bringing out, the SH101, the drum machines, I don't know. I think we're going to talk about this later. Roland are not going to make these kind of things again. They've said in a statement, but Behringer certainly are. They're going for it, and I think they're going to sell, man. I mean, for 150 quid.
Yeah, it costs like a plug-in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
And let's not forget, you can polychain up to 16 of them. Now, that would be an exciting concept. Imagine
no.
16 voice 303. But I mean,
Yeah,
limited,
dude,
obviously. I mean, wow.
Yeah,
Programming all of those
exactly.
sequences individually. No, you'd probably get a master sequencer. But yeah, I don't know why you'd want that. It doesn't seem like a. Anyway, there it is. It's available. In fact, while we're here, let's pop in the because last week I kind of moved everything towards the end and I felt a bit guilty. Let's pop in a little word from our friends at Softube as we were talking about basses. Why ever not? Of course, this is the Monument bass, which, if you've seen the show recently, we talked about it. In fact, we reviewed it, and it's a lot of samples of lots of kind of key and virtual, and unusual synthesizers, sampled through audiophile type signal paths, processed in stereo, with a lot of additional onboard processing that's specific to the bass. So essentially what you get out of this is a sort of mix ready bass sound. It occupies that low end, it's got a multi-band compressor, it's got this very interesting sort of vintage aging parameter which allows you to introduce noise and randomness. It's got some great distortion, spatialization, which is quite weird when you think about it, having a stereo basses, but it really does sound quite nice. If you want to check out a review or check out the Monument bass, go to softube.com. It's available directly from them. I think there might be a demo. I'm not entirely. Yeah, try it now. There must be a demo. What am I saying? So, all right, what's next? That was that one. I mean, we could. Maybe we should go to the Never Chase a Ghost thing, because that kind of really ties in very well. Peter Kern wrote an excellent article, because there was actually an interview on the Roland blog, an official interview with the CEO, which, if I can pronounce this right, which sounds like, I think it's Junichi Miki, who is the current Roland CEO, and Peter Kern wrote an article called Never Chase a Ghost, because this is one of the things that he said, and this was one of the things that Roland had kind of said, look, we're not going to make a duplicate, right? We're not going to be going back to all of those analog things and remaking them. And it's sort of like, yeah, you can see that as a concept and that how it works, but it doesn't quite stack up to me, because as Peter points out, so why are you releasing all of this stuff that's basically emulations of those things, but not those things in analog? So it's sort of, it's an interesting approach. But I thought I'd just put the link down and then discuss. So I really didn't go. I'm going to come to you first, Rich, because I know you think about these things quite a lot, and I know you've said in the past that it's not necessarily about the heritage and the vintage of the gear. It's just like whether it works. There's nothing particularly magical about specific items of equipment in terms of mythics, perhaps. You've gone. Is that? I think that's me. No, it's you.
No, take a drink.
Take a drink, somebody.
No, what I mean to say by that is that I'm not as romantic as a lot of people are about the age of the gear. I'm not trying to make it that there aren't very, very special things that have occurred along the way. And if somebody chose to remake a hardware version of either a CS80 or a Jupiter 8 or something like that, which is revered and loved, and you actually have Tom Oberheim making Oberheim 8 voices, or however many voices you probably want to pay for. So, yeah, I get it. They want to move forward, and it is interesting because they've got sort of this like crew down the hall who are all doing it all in digital anyway, while they do whatever they're doing next. And they are doing some interesting and creative things, especially anyway. So it's not that surprising to me. It's a choice you can make. If they were to be bought out by some gigantic corporation, they'd turn around and rip that paper up immediately. But that's fine. As long as they're Roland and they want to ascribe to that ethos, I support them in that 100%. That's fine. I am, somewhat romantic about old gear. I don't really want to give you that impression. And in particular, certain pieces of old gear, like I think you've, when you were in, it might have been Japan, and you played a Memory Moog. I'm like all verklempt because I have such a personal relationship with Memory Moog from the old days, and I'm enjoying watching your Moog One thing. So I do have a certain amount of romance for certain things, but there's so much romance about things I didn't care about when they were new that's the part of me that's kind of jaded.
Yeah, I know. I see what you mean.
Clarify my jadedness.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Thank you for that opportunity.
That's that. You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. It's interesting, actually. Waggle in the chat room, I think it's called. He's changed his name for Halloween and hasn't changed it back. He said that it's so sad to see the statement from the Roland. Why not a spin-off sub-company called Roland Classic, so they can chase the future with the main body and create a sub-label? I mean, record labels do that sort of thing all the time. I mean, there'd be no kind of dishonor in that. It's sort of it may well prove a fruitful, a rich seam. I don't know. Yeah,
might be easier to do in a company the size of Moog than it is in a company the size of Roland.
Yeah, I'd imagine because
for example, making a 55, however many 50 years later, a 50th anniversary Moog 55 or one, it might be an easier sell in a boardroom of Moog investors than it would be in a boardroom of Roland investors. Perhaps.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. I think that's very reasonable. And also, you don't want kind of legacy products competing for the same production run time as your main ones. I don't know. What do you think, Yoad? I mean, it's interesting because we have this sense of nostalgia. Everybody wants it. I mean, I spoke with some people in other companies who said everybody says they want the old stuff, but actually, sales indicate otherwise. They shout about it, but sales don't actually support that so much.
I have to say that this is not quite my thing to share an opinion about those things, because I think it's down to economics. I think that Behringer is a company that is more set up to produce these products not on the cheap, but cheaply. And Roland are more kind of, I suppose, R&D orientated, and their products are more expensive, like the Phantom and all those fancy kind of workstations and stuff like that. And it's a different setup from a financial point of view. I think that's probably what it is down to, because I think that if they thought that they would be able to make it will be another revenue stream, and like you said, without competing with their flagship products, then they would probably go for it. I like the fact that they invest a lot of time and money and effort in new technologies, but the funny thing is that they probably invest a lot of money in emulating their own old technologies rather than actually producing them in the analog domain. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit, but on the way they produce a lot of interesting products. I think they ditched because they had this this product that had an analog kind of synth engine
There's
within
the SEO. Was it the SEO2 or the JDXI or the JDXA?
The JDX, and I think they've ditched it. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't see it kind of progressing into new products. So I think they've kind of ditched this whole analog technology. But I think it's fine because they do so much other stuff, which is great. So all good.
Yeah, I suppose that's a fair point. I mean, there's room for everything. And I don't know. I mean, you know, the loudest voices do tend to be the critics and saying, you know, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? See, you could have done that. But I guess if you're not geared up for analog construction and your whole kind of production line is DSP based, then it'd be a huge change in policy and everything to be able to do that, right? Matt.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Sorry, I'm looking at you, but you don't realise that I've switched to you.
Yeah, I guess so. If that's the route you're going, I mean, I think it seemed to me like Roland maybe sat down about 8 years ago or something, said, "What are we doing? What's the direction we're going?" And the first kind of things that they started throwing out was the sort of IRA range came out. I think that was about that long ago now, and it was all black and green and it was kind of like, this is the new SH101, or this is the new drum machine, this is the new 808. That was kind of what
had quite a lot of success with it, really, to be fair.
Absolutely, yeah. And even, you know, I'm using one of the Roland Torcedos as well. You can't see this.
Yeah, the little the digital Eurorack things,
little Eurorack things that they brought out, which allowed you to use DSP to build modules within a module, which I really like that. So there's definitely some innovation and some great stuff that they're doing, and their software emulations sound really great as well if you want to go down that route.
That's true.
And now the software versions are also bundled in the new what's the hardware synth they brought out? You did a video on it recently, Nick.
The Jupiter XM? I don't know that it's bundled in there, but there's a different. They're not the same thing. What they're doing is they're using a slightly different technology. ACB was their kind of the big IRA thing, which is analog circuit behavior, and they've gone to another one, which is, I'm trying to remember what that is. I think it's actually referred to in the Peter Kern article. It's got a different. Name. ACB or let's see, I'm trying to find it now. I probably should have written those phrases down. Let me see.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure.
Zen Core, it's a different thing. Well, it's a different thing. It's a more efficient. It's a more efficient use of the DSP available, so you could get more voices out of it. Because they were saying that people wanted more voices because people expect, as soon as you use DSP, people go, well, why has it only got 4 voices? Referring to maybe the boutiques, and it's because the DSP required to make those voices to that standard doesn't give you enough to have any more than 4. I guess is the answer to that question. So I suppose it's just this kind of swings and roundabouts. Figure it out. But yeah, it's an interesting article. It does throw up a lot of it throws a lot of philosophical questions about why are we so fixated on this stuff, and what is it? Is the mob, i.e. the internet commenters and whoever, do they represent the market, or do they represent another thing? And I guess maybe there's evidence that that it represents another thing rather than people who will actually buy it if it's going to cost that much.
I'm trying to think, maybe like in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, are people going to be going, oh, I've got an original Roland JDXA, or are they still going to be going,
I mean, the JD8000, the JD8000, that's still highly sort of what's it, the JP8080, was it, what's the
JP8000.
JP8000, so there is, it doesn't have to be analog, does it, to be a classic? It's a classic UI.
That's right. The boutiques as well. I think they only did a limited run of those, I think, as well. I suppose the other thing is as well, though, Nick, is like some of us are composing and also performers. And I played a lot years ago just using software on a laptop and a MIDI controller, and that used to frustrate me, really. I never really felt like I was performing. And now now I'm very much, this is my instrument. I write music with this, and this is what I take out, and I've built it in a particular way that enables me to have a bass synth in there and some polyphony and effects and that kind of thing. So I'm just wondering as well about, people gravitate to things like 808s and 909s and 303s, again, for the tactile, instant, non-menu diving performance elements of them, I suppose, to some extent as well.
Well, that's true, but then you take the Jupiter XM, and that is very far from menu diving, from non-menu diving. There's a lot of menu diving that goes on that. So,
is there? Okay.
Yeah, a hell of a lot. For sound design, perhaps not for performance, but for if you want to kind of go, I want to tweak a parameter, it's like 8 clicks, then 27 items down the menu. It's like no thanks. I don't want to do that. But yeah, an interesting discussion. Let's just have let's get on to our friends at iZotope. We could do the competition. Why not?
Building on a 17-year legacy in audio mastering, Ozone 9 brings balance to your mix with never-before-seen processing for low end, real-time instrument separation, and lightning-fast workflows powered by machine learning. Expect lower CPU usage and shorter startup times with Ozone 9 compared to Ozone 8. Experience fluid metering in a fully resizable environment that lets you track the most subtle details of your audio. Use more plugins at once, mix while you master without worrying about slowdowns or dropouts. And immerse yourself in a smooth, modern experience designed to keep you in your creative flow. As you can see, Ozone 9 is the fastest way to get your master off the ground. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out our other videos and head to iZotope.com to learn more about mixing and mastering and to download your free trial of Ozone 9.
Indeed you can. And of course we have a competition this week where you can win a copy of iZotope Ozone 9 Advanced. Let's just pop to that. That's we're looking for the hashtag polish and perfect. Which looks like it's spelt not like it sounds to me. Polish and perfect, and the hashtag Ozone 9, the number 9, to @Sonicstate and @iZotope Inc. That's a Twitter competition. So if you type those things and tweet them, then our super duper Twitter competition picking process will get you. Rich.
Polish hand perfect.
Yes. Yeah, police
Sorry,
hand,
but
police hand.
Besides
perfect.
that, I have recently put Ozone 9 to the test. I've been mixing using Console 1 this week.
All right.
I really, really enjoy, since we're mixing endorsement deals that we've got, sponsors. And on the Master Fader, the only thing that wasn't Console 1 that I used on this session was a reverb and Ozone 9 on the Master Fader, and I let it do its automatic thing because I just wanted to see what it would do, and to see if I liked what it did, and it did well. And what I heard was certainly good enough to print a rough mix and send it off to my friend. Whether it's the best it could possibly be, I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but I will say I instantiated it on the Master Fader, let it run its little analyzation deal, and it came out sounding good.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. That is, we run Neutron across the bus on this. I was going to put Ozone 9 on, but I haven't had a chance yet. But we have a competition winner from last week. We're looking for Rob X Loxley at Rob X Loxley. Third time's the charm. Not quite sure what that means because I did check and he hasn't won twice already. So he tweeted the hashtag, or they tweeted, I don't know if it's a guy or not actually, Low End Focus Ozone 9. And so if you want to get in touch, Rob X Loxley, then we'll be able to get you your prize. Okay, so let me just get back to my notes here. What are we done? Motu interfaces, Rich. I've only got this. I've got this Sweetwater one. It's the only video I could find.
New state-of-the-art studio quality audio interfaces from Motu, the M series. To learn more about these interfaces or the complete line of Motu products, visit sweetwater.com.
They look nice, like the displays on those, Rich. So these are the new Motu M2 and M4. It's their USB-C connectivity, so it's going to plug right into a MacBook and various other PC motherboards as well. They have the Motu drivers, but they also are class compliant. And they're very affordable for Motu stuff, so they've sort of taken hand. But they've got those amazing. I mean, the LCDs on them look really pricey, And so I think the M4 is $220, and the M2 is $170. But you can run them driver free, class compliant as well. And they've got all the kind of what they call Sabre. I think they're called Sabre preamps. Rich, you were sort of waxing about these, and they look interesting to you, right?
Well, they do. I'm using a Track 16 product by them, which is getting a little long in the tooth. And while they do promise drivers for it, it would be it has a lot of stuff I don't need on it, and it would be a little more elegant to have something that connects without whatever 3 adapters I have to use to get this thing to connect to my new iMac. So something that actually has that connector on it would be kind of nice to have. It looks to me like the mic pre's are as good as what they put in their higher end gear, and the price is astonishingly low. I'm interested in a couple. Oh, and it has this thing called loopback, which relates to a topic we were discussing a few weeks ago, where how do you replace SoundFlower to route signals around within your computer to get them from point A to point B. And this loopback feature, which works with their driver, but not in the class compliant world, allows you apparently to do a whole bunch of that with a lot of flexibility, which is pretty cool. Their new mixer looks nicer than the mixer that runs on this thing. So part of me is considering getting their 4-input one, and for the what they're advertising at $219, and so I'm interested. I'm also just in general interested in. I expected by AES to see a whole glut of Thunderbolt 3 interfaces, and I saw none. And then almost immediately after AES, UA showed one. And then since that time, I've become aware of a few USB-C interfaces. There's a PreSonus line, and now there's the Motu line. But I'm interested to understand why people aren't building Thunderbolt 3 interfaces or desktop Thunderbolt 3 interfaces. Some people are building them in rack mount form and stuff like that. But as I say, I'm looking to replace something on my desktop with a big knob on it. And this device kind of does that. And
it's an interesting thought. I know Yoad. I mean, A, the interfaces, but B, would you have any insight into why people aren't picking up, developers aren't going for the Thunderbolt 3 route?
No, I don't. I suspect, I don't know how popular it is on PC and on PC laptops. And USB-C is, USB has always been the standard since it came out, and that's the kind of go-to thing. I don't know. These ones seem quite nice, actually. They're quite compact. I think that the 4-input one has 2 mic inputs and 2 other line inputs, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it has. Does it have 4 mic inputs?
No,
I'm not sure. It only has 2. Yeah,
it's 2 plus 2. Yeah.
So it's 2 plus 2. I would go, if anything, I would go for the smaller one. I have my Scarlett thing. I have 2 of them. That they fit in my laptop bag, and for me, that's the most important thing. So I can just take it out and use it. I think the Scarletts run on USB 2 or something, but they seem to work. The Motu converters are probably better. And the loopback thing that Rich mentioned seems very interesting as well. So it seems like a good thing. The one thing I would want to check is the Rupert Neve, the Steinberg with the Rupert Neve transformers. I'm wondering whether it's just the transformers or that he designed the mic preamps. They probably would have mentioned it if he did, actually.
Yeah, I think it's just the transformers.
It's just the transformers. So, but it's still... and also the UAD stuff that you've reviewed, the new Solo one, that looks. I mean, that's a totally different price range, but that seems kind of cool as well with the plugins and stuff. But for that money, $170, it will probably be the same in pounds. It seems quite good.
Yeah, I know, I'd agree. Well, Matt, I mean, obviously you're probably looking for something which has more I/O than that, but I mean, they do other things. But I suppose this kind of price point is new for them.
It is, isn't it? I was going to say you would associate Motu with spending quite a lot of money. Really, I've had lots of different Motu sound cards in the past, And these ones at this price point is definitely new for them. The ones that come to mind that are comparable are probably the Focusrite 2i2 interfaces, around the same price, similar sort of functionality. And we have a ton of those actually at the college at BIM, at every workstation, because we enable students to come in, just plug stuff in and start recording. So we bought a lot of these 2i2s. So now this has come out and you've got the USB-C on it, but still no Thunderbolt. I'm just wondering as we update our software and our hardware, we update Macs and we update sound cards yearly to make sure that we've got things up to date. I'm just wondering what would be the advantage of going towards something like this, other than the loop back and maybe it's got direct monitoring on it.
Yeah, the more visual. I think the visual
or...
meter. I think if you're in an educational scenario, because I know that like 2i2s, they've generally just got peak lights. You haven't got a full kind of video. I think that would probably be useful because you'll get a clearer image of what's going on in the input game. Should point out that USB-C also, I mean, you just get a cable that is basically USB-A on one end and USB-C on the other end. It doesn't have to come from a USB-C port. Whereas with Thunderbolt, you do need specifics. And the point that Yoad made is there's much less of that going on PC motherboards. There's a huge, I mean, that they're in there now, but there's still loads and loads of people with computers that don't have Thunderbolt ports, whereas probably the Mac legacy has been going a little bit longer, so you could plug that in. So, but the USB-C shouldn't be a big deal, I guess, from that point of view.
No, yeah, you're right. Actually, yeah, it should be fine. I think it's good. I always associate Motu with quality personally. I think they're a good quality brand, and to be able to stick one of these in your bag now, if you're going out and playing live, using them on stage or something like that, I think that these are a good call actually, especially with the direct monitoring, the I/O, the 4 ins, 4 outs on them. So. Yeah, I think this is a good move. Yeah, great price point.
I think so. One thing it doesn't say, and Motu has also been famous for a few generations of their interfaces having DC coupled I/O. I don't know whether these have that. It doesn't mention it specifically, so I'm guessing maybe it does or it doesn't. Or you? So
I think they do, mate. I think it was mentioned somewhere here on their website, but it has DC coupled. So again, you could use that with modular. Interface it with something like CV Tools or Bitwig or something like that.
That's fair enough. Well, fair enough. I stand corrected. But yeah, some new stuff, and I think that would. It looks like it's going to do well for them. I do hope so. Right, gosh, we're getting on. There were two topics I definitely want to get in. I think we've got to do this one because this came out. This is an addition. So, meet Lucy. This is the new Emvoice One. This is like a vocal synthesis editor. So this is essentially a kind of vocal editor. It's like, I mean, we've seen this stuff with some of the Yamaha, the Steinberg technology. This is sample based and it's put together out of lots of little snippets. And this is dubstar, absolutely 100% dubstar. But I rather sort of clickbaitily put the headline for this. This could be your new virtual vocalist, and it's close. It's getting closer. I mean, it's still a bit sort of razor blade pitch perfect. I would want to kind of have a bit more, a bit less precision in there for it to be there. But I mean, it's astonishing that you can just type the stuff in. And this, I think it's $199. So it's not terribly cheap. It's the first voice that they've done. But it does seem like it could be very useful for demos and and other stuff. I don't know. We've talked about this before, haven't we? I mean, Matt, I don't know if you sing, but songwriters everywhere, sometimes they're not singers and they want something to put in there. And this could be quite useful for trying out lyrics and maybe the way that they sound and the pitching and the intonation before you get a vocalist in to do that. I mean, if you're the completest songwriter without being the singer.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. If you're demoing something at home and you haven't got a great voice, you can now whack something down and get it into shape pretty quickly to be able to show it to a singer when they actually come into the studio, the kind of thing that you've got. So yeah, this is pretty amazing. I know there's other ones on the market that kind of do the similar thing like Melodyne and what have you, but I was blown away when they integrated this into Logic. And I think a few people forget that you've got this pitch correction built straight into Logic within the flex time and all of that.
Yeah,
No.
but the thing about this, I mean, is the whole sort of lyrical ability to write lyrics alongside the notes and have it kind of sing them back at you. I don't know, Rich. You look a little thoughtful there. I mean, is this a slippery slope, or is it actually just another useful tool? And nobody's ever, you're not likely to see hit records with Lucy as the front singer just yet.
I like option B out of those two. If those are my choices, I'll take option B. I didn't see this on the topic list, so
I'm sorry. Yeah, I've just thrown it in there.
So
I do beg your pardon.
confirm, does this actually? You write the lyric? Just sorry to confirm it. You actually type the lyrics in.
Yes,
and
in the editor,
audio
and then it
synthesis
sings.
changes.
You add the vibrato, you add the note glissando, and how you want to do it. I do beg your pardon. I thought I'd sent this back out as and here's an extra topic, but maybe I missed it out. So if I've sprung this on you all, I do apologise. But what was quite interesting about this is, like I say, because it's sample based. And it's taken, the slivers of sound are built, the words are built from like a database of samples rather than an actual modeling scenario. So you can get it to sing and say these things. So yes, I do. Once again, I apologize for perhaps not explaining myself correctly there.
Didn't the older Sonicstate theme contain a synthesized vocal?
Well, that was Votalk.
That
That was the choral
Kent had
thing.
done?
That's right. Yeah, absolutely, it did. Yeah,
And
which
he
is
had to do it phonetically because he couldn't typing the words in wasn't getting it.
Oh
So
yeah,
he
because
had
it
to
went
make up
tonic
stuff
Tate.
phonetically.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, something he had to do something to make it work.
That's right. Yeah, that's you're very good point. But I mean, Joe, Addy, I mean, you're doing a lot of pop production where auto tune might be seen as an audio asset, something that is you want that feature front and center. But I mean, this was like having a razor blade slicing through the air for my ears. But
from a technological point of view, I can really appreciate it, and I admire the effort and the ambition that was put into this. And I haven't heard all of the ones like the similar, the ones that can actually sing when you type the words in on the market. But this seems like it's probably the best, if not one of the best ones. So, and it's definitely the way for things to come. We will hear some songs performed by the singer or other ones or her sisters or brothers or whatever.
Right.
At the same time, it sounds a little bit like a singing navigator.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
GPS.
So, yeah. So
Very
I'm just so the chorus could be like turn left or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe they should do a cover of Fashion by Bowie with turn to the left,
exactly.
turn to the right. Yeah. Brilliant.
But I mean, no, but I think, we're obviously going to see more and more things like that in the future, and it's quite exciting. It's quite exciting. It's whether it's going to replace real flesh and blood singers eventually, probably, but by that time we will be probably just brains stored in jars somewhere, so it wouldn't matter to us. So I think
I mean, of course, because I mean, in the K-pop business and the kind of a lot of the high pop in Asian markets, there are virtual pop stars that are that have been created because it's probably a lot easier to tell an avatar to do what you want rather than an actual human being. But.
Yeah, the other thing I would add for people who are not native English speakers like myself, the accent thing is a big issue for a lot of people, actually.
Okay.
For most of humanity, other than I don't know how many people are actually native English speakers. Maybe less than a billion, probably much less than a billion, actually. Maybe I don't know, 500 million or something like that. The rest of humanity are struggling with, especially in everything to do with vocals and all that, are struggling with accents. So this could be that could be something that could help them in some way.
Well,
so
then
that's
that'd
another-
be interesting, because you get the accent. The accent would be right, but maybe the Google Translate version of the word you think you're writing ends up wrong. So your chorus is kind of, headbutt rather than,
yeah.
whatever, headache, whatever it may be. I'm just...
Yeah, but I have to say that Google Translate and the other one, there's another one like Google Translate, which some say
they're very
is
good.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, they become a lot. They actually have become usable. So
Yeah.
So the technology kind of evolves.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I mean, I think you're right. We will hear more of this. I think before I wanted to get on some real other music as well, and this was a good one. This was on Synthtopia, which was a lovely. Actually, I should probably plug that before I say what it's called. It's called Emvoice One, and if you do Emvoice app, that's emvoice.app or emvoiceapp.com, will get you there, and you can check it out. And it's probably got a bit of fun if you've got a song in you but you can't sing. £200.
Is it just the one voice you get on it, Nick? Or
At the moment, it's the first voice. Yeah, the first voice. They will be reducing more, but I imagine it takes a very long time because of all the little slices, the way they do it. There's some notes on the website of how they actually do it, and it's quite interesting. But anyway, let's have it. This was a cover of Carpenters' "Close to You," and it's kind of an instrumental version and a modular, and it's very pleasant. Actually, I quite enjoyed it, but it left me with a hankering to hear Karen Carpenter's voice, which is like it's like super rich syrup, but you can only take so much of it because it's so beautiful, but it's also... Anyway, I'll shut up. Some lovely textures in there. So this is by a person called Glowonly, using plats, rings, elements, and STO. Her mod is the main sequencer, everything being clocked by marbles to create a push-pull jitter to the sequence. I thought, I thought I'd come to you first, Matt, because you've got a similarly sized system behind you. That's quite an achievement. I mean, it's quite hard to make sectional song sequences in a modular patch because, you have to have multiple paths through it. But it's a lovely atmosphere, don't you think?
Yeah, I really like that. I really like the pace of it as well. And I'm very familiar with all the modules that this person's using and the sequencer, her mod sequencer, which I've owned previous. And it's really good. So I know how much work has gone into this to get it sounding how it is, from the sequencing through to the voicing of it. And I think it's quite respectful as well, the way that it's been produced and put together. So yeah, I think it's really nice. When I heard this, I was trying to think what other great covers that I've heard that people have done on, just on modulars or just on synthesizers recently. And yeah, I couldn't actually think of any. I was wondering
it's funny, isn't it?
If you had any other favourites.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I have actually got something which is a vocal watch, or maybe I'll talk about it a bit later on. But it's a real testament to the strength of the song, though, isn't it, Rich? The craftsmanship of the songwriting that melody endears. I mean, I know some people find Carpenters a bit cheesy, sometimes, because they did write some cheesy stuff. But there's because of what happened with Karen Carpenter and her, her life story. Everything has this sort of pathos to it, which perhaps wasn't intended originally when the song was written, right?
I don't know that it's any cheesier than what I just heard.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I once interviewed for a job at Muzak. I did,
right.
Seriously. I don't know why that came to mind, but I once interviewed for a job at Muzak on Long Island. I didn't get the job, but thank God. I don't know. This holds zero interest for me.
Okay. That's fair enough. Perhaps then, I don't know. I mean, it's, perhaps we could, the difficulty of producing something like that on a modular, it's almost like building a cathedral out of matchsticks, and kind of going, look what I've done.
Yeah, what comes to my mind is those artists who make drawings, pencil drawings that look kind of realistic, like photos. So it's a craft, it's a craftsmanship, it's an art. You may argue or not. To me, and I know that what I'm going to say is not going to be very popular, but one patch of Omnisphere is the pad, another pluck sound is the lead, a bit of modulation on the delay time, and you have it in like 5 minutes. So, so I don't know. For me, I don't see the point. The point in it. I appreciate the time and the effort that was put into that, and but I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I do too, by the way. I do too, by the way.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, music is something that you want to listen to and enjoy, regardless of it's not a sport. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's not about achievement. It's about how it sounds. Yeah, and it sounds like a pad and a plug sound with some delay. And
I think that's a fair point. Actually, I just thought, but I think the thing is, this led me on to I was thinking, I really want to, and then Tara Bush released. She's just because she does her Patreon. She's been a guest on the show a few times, and she does like a monthly cover. I Speak Machine is her artist, and she's done a cover of Superstar, which is also the Carpenters, and she's singing and. I have to say, it's absolutely brilliant. I mean, me and Rich were discussing it a little bit before the show, and I don't know how he feels about it, but it's got a. Maybe I'll play a little bit in the background. Without, hopefully, it won't. I won't end up with a Spotify ad, which is entirely possible. We'll see. But it's a really interesting. Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to play. I don't know why that is.
It's SoundCloud, isn't it?
It's SoundCloud, but I know what it is. It's because Oh, there we go. If you're planning on driving, I'll tell you what I'll do. I've got the MP3 here, so I'll play that alongside it, and we can show. So yeah, I've got this guy. So pretend this is playing on SoundCloud, but this is another version. But I think again, it's the strength of the song, isn't it? Sometimes that, and we forget a lot of the time that the melody can be the thing. But this is a lovely one. I'm not quite sure what the point of this was. It was just like the Carpenters, and I thought, the thing I like about this is the vocal aspect of it. So I'll let it play in the background. I think this is one of the covers that she's done where her voice is much more exposed than general. I'm waiting for the melody to come in. I'm not going to play it because you can go and find out for yourself. I just wanted to give it a plug because I thought it was a great piece of.
I have to say something about Karen Carpenter. Her voice is amazing and everything, but her drumming, because she played the drums on their recordings, and what I love about the drumming on their songs is that she used the hi-hat as a backbeat. So her hi-hat is like as kind of big and loud as the snare drum, and sometimes more, because the snares were quite soft. But if you listen to the hi-hat is such an important part of the rhythm, and even more than Ringo Starr used to do. So it's like, because it's all close mics and close micing and kind of proper studio, dry 70s studio recordings, and it's like you hear the hi-hat is like the loudest and most prominent part of the drum kit, and I really love that.
Yeah, she was. Well, I mean, I'm sure most people do know now she was a very accomplished drummer, really good drummer, and there's famous clips on there of her sort of playing kind of really kind of exquisite complex drum parts as well. I think she was I don't know, Rich, is it come out of the marching band kind of thing? There's a real tradition of drummers coming through the marching band kind of route, I guess. I don't know whether that's something that she had that, because didn't she play with the proper sort of jazz side sticks and whatnot? I think I think so.
She had traditional grip technique, and she showed very good rudimental knowledge in some of her soloing, and so maybe she did come through marching band background, which is a great place to start as a drummer anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of the really good ones came through that route that we know of. Let me see, is there anything else that we need to cover? I think we've kind of pretty much reached 5 o'clock which my rather aborted topic there. I think that's probably a good place to stop before I do anything more. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for joining us. Rich, thanks for joining us from Connecticut there, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Are you back on the road again for the Christmas rush anytime soon?
Yeah, I leave Monday. And,
oh, wow, okay.
We're doing the U.S. and Canada again with Cher opening her show in arenas, and I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Well, I hope you have a great tour. Thanks for joining us as ever. And also, Matt, thank you for joining us too in your hastily assembled studio, which it looks like it's been there for years.
Oh, yeah, you'd look underneath the desk, and you know when you put your studio together and you're sure you put all the cables nice, and then you look underneath, it's just like a nest. Yeah. I mean, does that happen is that just me or everyone? I mean,
no, I get that.
How does that happen? How does it happen, man? It's like, if you tried to make that much mess, you couldn't. And I really
it's chasing the ends of jack plugs and pulling them through, and you end up with these knots that you could never tie if you tried.
Well,
brilliant.
I have a small tip for you for like a home studio. Just get a black kind of fabric and kind of Velcro it or something to cover like behind the desk, and then will cover everything and look kind of neat.
Well, the other thing that we did here, although they're overflowing now, is you buy guttering, rainwater guttering, PVC guttering, and you can mount those on the walls, and then you lay all the cables in, and you can cut little slots out as well, so you can have all the cable runs running. And
but then you always have more cables to add and things like that. But if you just let them kind of hang, and then you just cover it all, then it's all good.
Right.
Didn't everyone think that when Bluetooth came out that we was going to get rid of cables completely?
Yeah.
Wasn't it like, yeah, Bluetooth is brilliant. You don't need cables anymore.
Yeah, well,
didn't happen, did it?
It didn't happen. No, it didn't happen. And I think we're still a way off yet. And besides, I mean, that amount of audio flying around at different, I'd rather use an Ethernet cable and have some point-to-point stuff and just, do it via audio networking, I think, if I was going to do that. Which, indeed, if you, whatever the Behringer wing turns out to be, you might find that you do. Because I think what I did see on the teaser video was that there was a load of option cards for AES and MADI and, various other...
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what this is.
I think I saw a Dante thing, which is very common. So you can get those little boxes that you just plug in, and it's like, 2 inputs or 4 inputs or 8 or whatever it may be. And you go. It's just, All right. Well, thanks, everybody.
Cool.
It was a lot of fun, as ever. And that was a Sonic Talk 597. Goodness, we're nearly at 600. We'll be there soon. And if you haven't already seen it, do check out the tour we did with Yoad at his studio, because it's trending on YouTube now. It's the top video of the last 48 hours on the Sonic YouTube channel, and well worth watching. We've got another part to come where Yoad goes into his... the way he sets up his MIDI and the remote control stuff. It's fascinating. So, folks, thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you all next time. That was Sonic Talk, episode 597. See you later. Bye-bye.